Bowl champions, Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Phixated Podcast. I am your host, ready to get snowed in, Mike Azzolina, joined by a guy who I don't know how much he's looking forward to the snow. We'll ask him here. Regz, good to be back, bud.
Good to be back. I think the worst part about the snow is that I have to work while the rest of my family has a snow day. And so trying to maintain them while also trying to work and be on meetings, and eventually the guilt faces that will probably peek at me through my door over here when they want to go outside and play. That'll be my day. That'll be my day tomorrow.
Does Andrew have off?
Well, yeah, she works for the school system.
So she's out. She's off tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay. Well, tomorrow is Andrea's birthday, and it snowed on her birthday last year. It was a Sunday, and she's like, oh man, it's gonna snow again, and are we gonna get to dinner? And I think we'll be fine getting to dinner. I think it's gonna be gone by then. But she does not like this about her birthday. I travel on Tuesday, at least I'm supposed to. There was some question as to whether or not they wanted me to wait another week just because. So I'm kind of waiting on that to hear, but that I really don't have much on my work calendar tomorrow because I'm traveling on Tuesday. And usually when I travel, the day before isn't, stacked with stuff. So really it's just a meeting in the morning and then I pack and then I'll probably just shovel. So like not a whole lot on the docket for Azzy tomorrow, but always love a good snow. It's the first big one of the year, I guess.
Yeah, I hope we get it's supposed to stay more south, which is for us rare. Usually we're the opposite. Everyone up, more north is getting a good amount.
Right.
I guess this one's supposed to stay a little more south.
What is your total supposed to be?
I can't remember. It's maybe in like the 5-6 range.
Gotcha.
Nothing crazy, but for down here, it's a decent bit.
Yeah, it looks for.
I always like getting some snow.
1 to 3. 1 to 3.
Yeah,
nothing crazy.
I always like getting snow.
Yeah, me too. I don't mind it. I did read that there's potential big snow next Sunday.
I saw that also.
Which, a weather game against the Packers, not necessarily the thing that I'm, looking for, but we'll talk about that later in the week, I think. We're gonna do a 30,000-foot view of the postseason here tonight, and hopefully it's one that we can check back on as we go. But got some storyline stuff with the Phillies, got some confidence level stuff with the Eagles as we head into the postseason. Going to recap our Eagles stuff, but I didn't tell you this beforehand because I wanted to kind of do this on a whim. But I thought I did a game the other day with my colleagues at in a meeting that we had. And I wanted to Philadelphia-ify it for us. Philadelphia-ify it athlete-wise. It's actually a game that I use sometimes in trainings, or like I used to do with staff and students. It's called pancake or waffle.
Okay.
And we'll call it that, but that's not what it is for us anyway. And essentially, you would choose one of those two things. If we had more people in the room, you'd debate it, and then we'd choose as a group. But once you pick one, so if I were to ask you, Regz, pancake or waffle, what would you choose?
Waffle.
But here's the
there's a kicker.
Here's the caveat that I didn't mention. One you pick stays, the other leaves existence, like it never existed, never will exist.
Yeah, I'm good. Waffle.
Okay. So then waffle moves along, and then you add something else, and it could be anything. So I'll just right. But we're doing that with Philly athletes.
Beautiful.
So I'm just gonna.
This is gonna get heart-wrenching.
I have 18 Philly athletes.
Oh my God.
right? And I chose Philly athletes that we watched.
Yeah. Okay.
I did not go
Right.
back to before our time, because then I'm pulling some guys,
Yeah, sure.
right? I'm pulling the legends of the legends.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is going to get a little heart-wrenching for you. Some are easier than others.
Okay.
I can see you blowing through some of these.
All right.
I can also, and I feel like there's so many more I could have chosen.
I'm very anxious.
Again, the rules for those that checked out. I'm going to give Regz 2 Philly athletes. I feel like the first one's pretty easy. Regz will choose one knowing that the other one leaves existence. They never existed. Their impact on Philadelphia never existed. And they can never return.
They are stricken from the record.
Okay. So they lived their lives in another city, playing the sport for another city, essentially. Okay. All right. Here you go.
All right.
Here we go. 18. The first two, I feel it's an easy one. John Kruk, Jeremiah Trotter.
Yeah. Give me Kruk.
Okay. John Kruk, Darren Dalton.
God. This is terrible to think, but like, because Darren Dalton died already, I feel like I'm picking John Kruk, because Darren Dalton technically is already out of my life. I love Darren Dalton. I do. But Kruk,
I mean, it's an interesting strategy.
Kruk provides to my life almost daily during the season.
John Kruk, Joel Embiid.
John Kruk. Jesus Christ. If I could erase Joel Embiid from existence of my sports life, yep, I'll sign up for that right now.
John Kruk, Jason Peters.
God. Wow. That got difficult quickly.
It's only going to get harder.
I mean, Jason Peters freaking, well, no, I guess he was done by then for the Super Bowl.
Well, he was hurt that
year. He was
year.
hurt. That's right.
I mean, the guy played forever.
I know he did. I'm still going John Kruk. My baseball bias is seeping in.
That's fine. John Kruk, Jimmy Rollins.
Jimmy Rollins.
Jimmy Rollins, Roy Halladay.
God damn it. Jimmy Rollins.
Jimmy Rollins, Donovan McNabb.
Jimmy Rollins.
Ooh.
He won me a championship, man. I love you, Donovan. I love you, Five.
I get it. Jimmy Rollins, LaShawn McCoy.
Jimmy Rollins.
Jimmy Rollins, Chase Utley.
God almighty.
Again, you erase everything they did.
I know. That's so tough. This is impossible. This is impossible. This is the first impossible one. What's your choice? I don't know. I don't have one. You go.
I personally keep Jimmy, but this isn't me.
Oh my! I think if I really thought about it, my first reaction was Jimmy.
Okay, that's fine.
Oh my God, that's an evil one.
Yeah, well, I give you a couple. I think you're gonna lay up here a little bit. Jimmy Rollins, Jalen Hurts.
Jimmy Rollins.
Jimmy Rollins, Carson Wentz.
Yeah, Jimmy Rollins.
Jimmy Rollins, Ryan Howard.
Still Jimmy. I love
Jimmy Rollins. All right, hold on. Here you go. Jimmy Rollins, Nick Foles.
Oh my God. And I just got rid of Utley and Howard, so now no one's winning me a baseball championship. Jimmy still. I'm taking my baseball bias.
Jimmy Rollins, Zach Wheeler.
I love Zach. Jimmy won me a world championship. Jimmy.
Jimmy Rollins, Allen Iverson.
Still Jimmy. I love AI too. Gosh darn it.
Jimmy Rollins, Bryce Harper.
Oh my God. Jimmy still? I have to. He's won a World Series.
Last one. Jimmy Rollins, Brian Dawkins.
Still Jimmy. I want that, dude. I don't want that World Series to go away. I need that World Series in my life. I do.
It is. Yeah.
I need it.
That caveat of everything they did goes away helps you carry through there, but you lose your Super Bowl.
I know.
In there. and I love this. I think it's so.
Can
I
we
think
do
it's
this
so
for you?
fun.
Give me the list. Can you text it to me, or is it written down? Send me a
It's written
picture of
down.
it.
All right, I can send
We're
you.
we're flipping the switch on this one
All right, that's fine.
because the people want to know what you would do
people-
in this situation.
All right, the people want to know.
Who cares what I say? They want to know what the host wants.
All right, hold on. It's being sent. I should have sent it to you earlier, but I wanted it to sort of be a surprise because
No,
I
it's
felt like
fantastic.
giving you.
It's fantastic as a surprise.
Yeah.
It really is.
Just send it.
Yep. Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. Kruk versus Trotter.
Kruk.
Trotter Senior.
Yeah, it's Trotter Senior. Yeah,
Okay.
Kruk.
Kruk versus Darren Dalton.
Kruk.
Kruk versus Joel Embiid.
Kruk.
Kruk versus Jason Peters.
So I'm taking Peters here, and so I'm reading the book by Zach Berman right now, and reading about Jason Peters, it's actually going to be hard for me to pick the next one after remembering everything Jason Peters did for the Eagles.
Listen, I'm with you, man. This franchise is in a very different place without that dude.
Yeah, without Jason Peters, it's super interesting. So, all right, go ahead.
This one is going to be maybe the most interesting one.
Yeah,
Jason Peters versus Jimmy Rollins.
So I'm gonna take Peters.
The first shocking upset.
Yeah, and here's why. Because just the amount of respect that dude had in that building, that he missed weeks 8 through 16 or 17 of the regular season, was still on the sidelines, coaching dudes up, staying in late, coaching rookies up on both sides of the ball. And that team thought enough of him that he carried the Lombardi out, carried it the whole way home on the plane, and slept with it that night, essentially.
Yeah.
To me, that's a dude. That's a dude. So
I think he'll be one of those guys who will be phenomenally underrated for his time here because of things like that. Luckily, there's people like Zach who are writing those things.
Yeah.
But that's what's going to have to be carried over, because I bet even a lot of people of our generation don't know that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love Jimmy. But when I think about what the bodyguard was for the Eagles, that team, before that team, after that team, probably still is in some ways. But all right. Yep.
Here's another good one. Jason Peters, Doc Holliday.
I mean, Roy's one of my favorite baseball players of all time. But I'm going to go back to that championship, and I'm keeping Peters.
Okay. Jason Peters, Donovan McNabb.
Peters.
Jason Peters, LaShawn McCoy.
So here's the interesting thing about this. As I was thinking about this, I said, I wonder who I would take here, because LaShawn literally on national television 2 weeks ago was asked, would you give back both of your championships to retire as an Eagle? And he said yes. That's how much he loved Philadelphia. So it's hard to say what I'm about to say, but I'm still keeping Jason Peters.
Okay. Jason Peters, Chase Utley.
All right, this is where I might and Jimmy's my guy.
Yeah.
Always will be my guy. But I think what JP was to the Eagles, Chase Utley was to the Phillies during that time frame. While I think Jimmy was probably the all-around better player, I think Chase's presence, his leadership, his mentality was very Jason Peters-esque, and I think both of them will be in the Hall of Fame. So I am gonna make my first. This is that turn, and I'm gonna go with Chase Utley here.
All right, Chase Utley, Jalen Hurts.
Chase Utley. Jalen Hurts might get that Super Bowl though soon.
Might be different in like you said, in a month or two. Chase Utley, Carson Wentz.
Yeah, this was meant to be a layup. To have a breather.
Just a reset.
Utley.
Just a reset.
Yeah.
Chase Utley, Ryan Howard.
Yeah, Ryan to me is the most underappreciated of the
Oh
three.
yeah, for sure.
And I think you could make the argument that he could pretty much carry this list the rest of the way, honestly. I don't know that the Phillies actually win as much as they do without Ryan Howard, so I'm actually stumbling a bit here. Give me Ryan Howard.
All right. All right. The second surprise. Ryan Howard, Nick Foles.
Um, I want to keep that World Series in the worst way. So
I know.
give me. Actually, yeah. Yeah, give me Ryan Howard.
All right. For those of you not watching the YouTube video, if there's a YouTube video to like join the fun. By the way, the videos have been doing like fantastic the past couple episodes, so thank you to everybody.
Awesome.
They're like averaging like 30 plus views on YouTube, which
That's
is
great.
wild for two nobodies like us.
That's awesome.
Or nobody's like me. I'm talking to, a 2-time best-selling author, so I can't really say both of us. All right. Ryan Howard, Zach Wheeler.
Ryan Howard.
Okay. Ryan Howard, Allen Iverson.
Ryan Howard.
Okay. Ryan Howard, Bryce Harper.
Ryan Howard.
I was about to say, essentially, Ryan Howard has. We're trying to have Bryce Harper become our Ryan Howard, essentially.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, Ryan Howard, Brian Dawkins.
Okay, now hear me out. I'm twisting fate a little bit here. Brian Dawkins is forever my favorite Philadelphia athlete. Notice I didn't put Jason Kelce on here.
Mm-hmm.
Notice, because we're probably gonna have to do this again, and he will end up on here. But Brian Dawkins did all the hype videos for the year they won the Super Bowl. So I credit him with partial Super Bowl. I keep my Super Bowl. I keep my favorite athlete of all, Brian Dawkins.
Fantastic.
So before
that's a great exercise, by the way.
It's fantastic. So fun. It's so fun. And if you're watching on YouTube or you have to tell us who yours are.
We should crop that picture and put it on the Facebook page
and see
so that people can have their own choices.
Who since I mentioned the Dawkins thing, who do you think they have narrate the video next week?
I hope it's Casty. But
you think it's gonna be Casty?
No, I said I hope. I said I hope it's Casty.
I think Castellanos.
I don't think it will be.
It'd be awesome.
I think it's gonna be probably like Aaron Nola.
For the Eagles?
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Phillies like yearbook video. Sorry. The hype video. Okay, I'm back. We started talking about baseball and my brain switched. And like my boys started winter baseball this weekend, so like my brain is completely flopped back to baseball. Just for context. Okay. The hype video, the narrating the video for the Eagles.
I kind of want it to be. I actually think a Philly would be cool, but I think they're probably gonna do something with Kelce.
I think Kelce's a clear choice. I think if it was gonna be a Philly, obviously Bryce would be really good. If you want me to give you a little surprise pick, Jeremiah Trotter Sr. I think would be a cool touch with his son being on the team.
Would also
and
be
how
cool
well
to do,
the
like,
linebackers have been playing this year, like as an essential part of what's happened.
I feel like it has to be somebody on like a legendary defender.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll go back to the well with B-Dawk because they did it in 17. But like would be cool to do someone like him, would be cool to do someone like Fletch.
Yep. Fletch is another great choice.
Like somebody like
it could be BG, honestly.
Could do BG. Like I think a legend on the defensive side would be a lot of fun because of how good the defense has been. So it'll be cool to kind of keep an eye out for what that looks like. We'll probably get it on Friday, Friday afternoon, something like that to look forward to. But yeah, you had mentioned jumping into the baseball storylines. Does the yearbook come out next week?
Oh, I don't know. I just,
okay.
Like I said, my brain was on baseball and it just jumped to.
Should be coming out soon.
It should be. It usually comes out before spring training happens, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised it's not out already. I don't know. But
all right, well, while we're on the topic, who would you choose to do the Phillies one since I gave my predictions?
I would probably choose. Man, wouldn't it be hilarious if they did like Bohm?
It would be really funny.
I would probably choose like Strami.
That's a good one.
Yeah, like an all-star.
I could see
guy
him
had a good year.
Yeah, I could see JT maybe doing it this year too.
Yeah, it could be fun. Schwarbs did it already.
Schwarbs did it already. Turner did it. I'm sure Harper did one.
I don't remember if Bryce did one or not. I'd have to look back.
Maybe like 2020, 2021, something like that.
It's possible he did one of those. 19.
Because Schwarber did 22. Turner did, or no, Schwarber did 23.
Schwarber did 23.
Yeah.
Turner did 20
last year. Yep.
No.
Yeah.
Turner did 23 because that was the first year he was here. This is 24.
No, Trey.
This year's video will be 2024 season.
Oh, that's right. So Schwarber did 22.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turner did the 23 season.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, Nick would be a fun one. I just don't think he really cares. Want to do it.
No, I'm with you. I just think it'd be great. It'd be hilarious, I think.
Marsh would also be a good one.
Marsh would be great.
Marsh would be a fun one to do. But we do have we have storylines to get to. So here are the storylines we're gonna kind of go with for the purposes of our time. We have 4 storylines and a bold prediction for the season. So the first one is most intriguing. The second is a coming of age storyline. So a player who's coming through the ranks, or a player who was still kind of young in their career, and someone that we think is going to have that next step up, or we're looking to have that next step up. Most concerning storyline, the thing that we're most concerned about going into the season. Now this is a most concerning. I'm putting the caveat of like most concerned we're repeating. Like it's a repeat thing, something bad that's going to repeat. Most nervous about is something that hasn't happened, but gives us anxiety. Okay.
Yep.
And then our bold prediction. So let's start with the most intriguing storyline heading into camp this year. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay. I have the most intriguing storyline being just the lineup in general.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting to sort of hear Topper talk about how the changes don't necessarily have to come by new players, but new spots and where they hit. So that's where I see the most intriguing storyline being. Is Schwarber staying in the leadoff spot? Are they what are they going to do with Bohm and Castellanos?
Yeah.
Are they going to split those two up? Is there a chance that we see Harper hit in like the 1 or 2 hole, because we see that across baseball with the best players hitting leadoff. So very interesting and intriguing piece for this year heading into spring training is, what will this lineup look like? They did not add a big bat, so are they going to mix things up to try and get some more thump in the middle?
Yeah. A great choice.
Thank you.
Some of me wants to go like on the pitching side, but I don't think that's the most intriguing. I think with what's happened and I'm going to get a little more specific. I think what you're talking about is what I think will be the most general topic and like the thing talked about the most, because they did do something to make the rotation better. The bullpen is still a question, but there's still some pieces that might fall there. Who knows? There's still like a weird closer, late end reliever market that's still out there. So we don't know what'll happen with that. I think one of the most intriguing things is Bryson Stott. They came, like, it comes out way after the season. He was dealing with this elbow injury that, affected his hitting. Like, we were talking about this guy winning batting titles with what we thought he could be. And And everyone was left to speculate if this was kind of, maybe 23, 23 was, or 22 was kind of his peak. Like, that's just the best that it'll be. And it was a really down year for him. Now, look, credit to him. He still played Gold Glove caliber defense at a new position to allow for a superstar to come in who plays worse defense than him at the same position that he let, like he was a part of a World Series team playing. So credit to him for not letting it seemingly affect his effort on the defensive side, or who he is as a teammate. And I think that's where, some youth comes into play, that he's not, going to be this jaded superstar because he's having a down year. He knows he has to play to like be an everyday starting second baseman or infielder in the majors. But like now, almost to your point, now some people are talking about, do you lead off Bryson Stott? Do you lead off Bryson Stott and then go Turner, Harper? Because we all think Stott's this contact guy who can just put the ball in play, and everyone hopes that that's what he'll get back to. I just think it's very interesting. I think we need to see the defense come back, and I have every confidence that it will, that he'll be playing the same caliber of defense. But everyone's talked about this lineup needs more and more guys who just put the dang thing in play and are annoying. Bryson Stott was annoying as hell when this team went to the World Series. Gets in 2-strike counts, fouls off 4 or 5 pitches, and then hits just a bleeder over the third baseman's head to get on base. And he just would tick off opposing pitchers because he just would not die. And that's all we're talking about of guys that we want on this offense. And because of the moves they've made, he is a key piece to this lineup getting back to that kind of baseball, and that kind of mentality. And like we've talked about in many pods, and you can go back and listen to, I thought they kind of tried to take away his superpower. And again, who knows how much the elbow played into this, but
right.
I think his approach in general was very different this season. And maybe he was trying to hit for more power or hit more line drives, things like that. In my opinion, Bryson Stott's superpower is that ability to get into 2-strike counts and then just be the most annoying MFer that's ever lived inside the box. And then just poke it out to right field. Again, I don't think Bryson Stott's ever going to hit 30 home runs or even 25 home runs. And I just don't think that should be his goal. Yes, can you want to have more power to hit some more doubles, things like that? Of course you do. Of course you do. But I think he was so focused on it that he got away from his superpower. And I need that guy to come back.
Yeah. And so it's funny because everything you just said kind of leads into this next piece for coming of age. He's in his 4th year. His rookie year, he was fine. Second year was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
3rd year, struggled. I do have him as my coming of age storyline coming into this year. And I do believe he's going to lead off. At least he's going to get the chance to lead off early in the season. I think they're going to give him the opportunity to do that. I think they're going to move Schwartz to the 5-hole.
Mm-hmm.
I think they like the chances of a lineup that goes Stott, Turner, Harper. If Stott is healthy and goes, and I think it forces a mentality onto Stott a little bit, moving him there.
Yeah.
Your job is to get on base, Bryson.
By any means possible.
And if he does that, 30 to 40 bases, stolen bases is very possible.
Oh yeah, he's been a great base stealer.
So you've got him, then you got Trey, who I think is probably going to be up there again this year, around 300. I think it's probably going to be his best season as a Philly. And then you got Bryce behind him, and then you honestly just go with whoever's hot between Bohm and Castellanos in the 4-hole, and Kyle hitting behind them. I think it makes the Phillies lengthier in terms of their lineup, because 1 through 6 becomes a little bit more of a challenge.
Yeah.
And then when you get to 7, you sort of start over. because of the type of hitter Max Kepler is. So that's my coming of age for this year. Bryson Stott. I do believe we're going to see a different version of him. The Phillies have many guys to kind of choose from, guys that are on the roster, aren't on the roster. But he is my guy. I had another one in mind. I'm curious to see if you go with him. But Bryson is my coming of age storyline because I think he's going to be hitting leadoff and he's going to have to mature quite a bit to do that.
No, it's a great one. I'm going Kirkering. Because I think that
was my other one.
I think right now, as it stands, I think they are putting the Hoffman-like fire extinguisher innings onto a Ryan Kirkering.
Yep.
I think that's who they think he is. And look, it's his his second full season. It's a lot of pressure for a young kid who we've seen get in his own head a few times.
Yep.
And again, not to begrudge the kid, he flew through every level of baseball in like 7 months to get up to the big leagues and pitch meaningful innings for a World Series contender. We saw how good he can be this past year. He had, stretches where that fastball was popping, and then when you put that and when you have command of that and you're willing to throw it, when you drop that slider, like that's when it's devastating. It's not devastating when guys can just sit on it, because then you have to be perfect. You have to be. If you make one mistake and guys are sitting on a pitch, these hitters are too good nowadays.
Right.
That fastball is the key to everything he does, and having confidence in it is the key to everything he does.
Right.
And like, I even think it should be an emphasis with the catchers. Like, you have to call fastballs early to get him confidence in that pitch, to allow that slider to be as good as it is. And it's literally one of the best pitches in baseball. But he's going to have a lot of pressure on him, man. If the bullpen remains as is, let's say that. If the bullpen remains as it is, he's going to have a lot of pressure on him to be like a really key setup guy, or a guy that comes in like, we're facing the top of the lineup and we need you to mow him down, man. So I just think it's going to be a really intriguing thing with a young guy who, like we talked about, is only in his second full season of Major League Baseball.
Yeah. Well, it'll be something to keep an eye on for sure. I think it'll be something to monitor. He was my other one because he is going to take down big innings.
Yeah.
So we'll
think
see.
I think he got a little tired last year also.
Yeah, and that gets, everybody starts somewhere, right? So we'll see what they end up doing. I do think Romano, Ross could end up taking down some of those innings too. They're going to start Ross sort of in that Hoffman role, not in the fire putter outer, but where Hoffman started.
Yeah.
And who knows what, maybe Jose Ruiz takes the next step too. So
yeah,
they have a full year to work with him. All right. Most concerning. So something that happened last year that you're worried or concerned is going to happen again. Here's mine. And it's not a little bit, it's very specific. It's specific to a position. And it's the catching position.
Oh my God, that's what I was gonna say.
Well, then we can just agree. I'll give a brief point. You want to add to it?
Keep going. I'm gonna think of a different one. Keep going.
Okay. All right. So JT's not catching 130 games this year. He's likely going to catch 100, 110. I'm seeing it where he's probably going to end up getting 2 days off a week, a day to two off every week. If they're in a 10-game stretch, he's probably catching 6 of those. It's important to have JT fresh in October. And here's my concern. I do believe the backup is Rafael Marchand. I think that's the plan. Yep. He's also never healthy.
Yeah.
Now, JT has been remarkably healthy over his time with the Phillies. I'm not saying JT's not healthy. Last year, we missed him for 2 months.
Yeah.
And it was a big deal having him for 2 months because we were basically taking down innings with Garrett Stubbs. He was catching a bulk of the games. And I actually forget who the other catcher was, if I'm being entirely honest, because I don't think Marchand was available.
It was Marchand for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, because when he was in Pittsburgh, I remember I saw him literally getting sent down.
Yeah, right.
At the stadium. So I am a bit concerned about, how are we going to manage 162 games, keep JT fresh, but also get productive games from whoever it is. Now, there are probably some people listening to this saying, well, it can't get any worse offensive Stubbs.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I disagree with that. I think that's probably fair. Stubbs was pretty bad
Yes.
offensively. I don't think there's much of an argument to that.
Yeah.
Marshawn's a pretty good offensive player. He at least he has been at the major league. And defensively, he's a freaking menace.
Yeah.
It's just whether he can be healthy, if he can catch 60 games. Because if he can catch 60 games, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I don't know that he can, and I don't even know if JT's got it in him at this point to catch 100 games. I'm worried about that position, man. It's so important, and we know what happens to the rotation when JT goes out. I'm very nervous about that position.
Yeah.
We saw what happened last year, and I don't want to repeat of that.
I agree. While you were talking, I picked another one. It is that the Alec Bohm we saw in the second half continues into this year. With all the stuff that's been going on, his name being out there, he's been a little bit of a head case sometimes. I know he's dealing with a little bit of like a hand injury, things like that, but there was just such a huge difference in him pre-All-Star to post-All-Star. Again, it wasn't exclusive to him. The whole team seemed to just kind of take their foot off the gas after the All-Star game. But I think it's a real concern that he might really be in his head to start this season. And if it is that way, and then he's hitting 7th or 6th or whatever after being the cleanup guy, you don't hope this happens, but we don't know. Like, we're not sure. Yeah. We've seen enough, unfortunately, out of him that he's been a little emotional.
Yeah.
And we can't ignore that. So I think it's a real concern how Alec Bohm starts this season. And
it's a good one.
Like, which Alec Bohm are we getting?
That's a good one. That mentality coming back after everything that's gone down is one of the things I'm looking at starting the year. My hope is that it motivates him.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, it's my hope as well. I'm right there with you. I think this is a huge opportunity for Alec Bohm to show the entirety of Major League Baseball what his mentality is.
Right.
Like, if you come out with a chip on your shoulder and be like, I'm going to prove to these guys, like, you're not going to trade me, man. I'm not going to, I'm not going to allow you, because you're not going to be able to get rid of my production and what I do on the field for you. Like, that's what makes great players. That's what makes it, is that, like, no, I'm not going to come out soft and whatever. You want to doubt me? Cool. Like, watch what happens. That's what great players do.
Yeah. I would love to see that from him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So heading to most nervous, something that really hasn't happened, but still gives you anxiety going into the year. This happened to an extent last year, but not to the fullest extent.
I really hope you picked the same thing that I was going to say again.
For me, it's the Phillies have been remarkably lucky with rotation health over the last few seasons. And they had some rough back end injuries last year with Ranger and Taiwan. Couldn't, those guys never got healthy. They were trying to take down starts with you and me out there every other day, every 5th day. Like Tyler Phillips was getting starts, and then they'd run half-baked Taiwan out there. And then it was Tyler Gilbert. And they brought in the reinforcement this year with Luzardo. Aaron Nola is just unbelievably available. Zach Wheeler has been the same. And this is not a new anxiety. Like, this is every year for me.
Yeah.
Every single year I worry about this. So, and it's not me putting it out there as like I don't want anybody coming back here later and saying, well, you said it, so it happened. No, stop. It like, injuries happen in sports. The Phillies have been unlucky in a lot of ways with like the Harper injury for how many seasons in a row, the Reese injury in 23,
Turner
like,
last year when he was playing like an MVP,
when he was cooking, and Real Muto. I mean, there was a point where they had Real Muto, Harper, and Schwarber out for at the same time.
Yeah.
It just feels like one place where they haven't been decked by it is rotation full. Now, the good news with that is, yeah, they've got their top 5. But then, like, Joe Ross is there, and they do still have Taiwan floating around, and they, Andrew Painter if need be. So they do go a little bit deeper than they have in other years, at least with major league prospect in for lack of a better term. But that always gives me the anxiety.
Yeah.
The year, like, just pitcher health is so important in baseball.
Yeah.
And they have those 2 horses at the top,
who have just been
take the
good.
take the ball.
Yeah.
They take the ball. So I hope it continues, but it always gives me concern.
Yeah.
And it's a storyline to always keep an eye.
Yeah. It's a great one. It was going to be my choice as well. So
she'll let you go first.
I'm glad we're best friends and do a podcast together. This is great. So mine I think is going to be bullpen performance. I think this bullpen has a very bad taste in their mouth.
Yeah.
Coming off the playoffs. Say what you will about the offense, the bullpen was a key reason they lost a lot of these baseball games. It was not starting pitching. It just wasn't. And this is a fairly, I don't want to say fairly new, but there are guys we don't know if they can take down leverage innings. And you're expecting a lot from guys. Like, you're expecting a few guys to repeat their success. And I'm not saying that can't happen, but we saw Strahm struggle a little bit towards the end of the year. Not being able to strike guys out or kind of put guys away. Alvarado was literally untouchable for 2 months of the season to start the season. He had that weird personal thing, and he did not come back the same guy. He just didn't. You're asking, like we talked about, you're asking Orion Kerkering to take down some high leverage innings. You're asking a new guy in Romano who's coming off an injury to take down very high leverage innings. Like you said with Ross, you have some good feelings about him, but he's yet to prove it to us as a Phillies fan base. Ruiz, who was more of their, like, okay, we're up 5 or 6, let's throw Ruiz in there guy.
I do want to say something
a little bit
Ruiz.
of confidence towards the end. They did start using him.
I want to say they started bringing him in with like base runners on, like first and second, and like 1 out,
because they didn't trust Alvarado. Like, they brought him in essentially in Alvarado innings.
Yeah.
So look, I'm not saying he didn't do well, and
it could be. It's just an interesting arm this year.
Yes,
it really is.
It's just there's a lot of we don't know in this bullpen right now, and it's like, it worries me. It truly does. I'm not saying they can't go out there and be a top 10 bullpen in the sport. I think that's highly possible. But I don't think you look out there and do you think there's like 2 guys who are just stamp it absolutes? Like, gun to your head, absolutes.
Well, so here's the interesting thing about bullpens that often doesn't get talked about. The bullpen, most relievers, it's so combustible. Year to year.
Absolutely.
So, like, if you're asking me, are there absolutes? No, because I don't think any bullpen, any reliever without the name Mariano Rivera is an absolute.
That's a great point.
But if there are guys down there, if you're asking me, are there guys down there who can be absolutes? I think we saw that they can be absolutes. Like, we saw what Orion Kerkering can be. We saw what Matt Strahm can be. Jordan Romano was an absolute in Toronto for many years. Jose Alvarado was the most unhittable relief pitcher in baseball for like a 2-year stretch.
Yeah.
So like, are there absolutes down there? There's never going to be absolutes. Are there potential absolutes at a given time? Yeah, I do think so. And the longer that Jeff Hoffman sits out there, the likelier I believe it is that Jeff Hoffman is Philly again. I just think like if his market is not taking shape, and maybe the Phillies come to him and say, "Look, take a 1-year deal with a second-year team neutral option. Here's the money we'll give you." Then next year, if you want to test the market again, great. If not, you've got a deal here with us.
Yeah.
2 years, 26.
Yeah.
1 year for 13 and has a second year for 13 if he wants it.
Yeah.
Mutual option. Both sides have to agree. If he sucks, we're out. If he's good, he can go out.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Like but the longer he and then you might feel differently. Right? Like then you're probably like, "Oh shit, this bullpen just got really deep."
You're absolutely right. Yeah, this is strictly talking about where we are right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't disagree with you. It does give me anxiety that right now we're depending on two guys we have no clue with Romano and Braun.
No.
We don't know what we're getting with Alvarado. Can Strom repeat history?
Yeah. And can Orion take that next step? Yep.
Because those are the 5 guys that you're really depending on.
And we're now,
and if you want to throw Jose Ruiz in there,
I was about to say, we're now giving our 6th inning guy possibly high leverage innings.
So, yeah, I agree with you that this would probably be next on my list of like the things that, because the Phillies have had a really good bullpen in the last 2-3 years.
Yep, for sure.
And now it's like, oh crap, are we going to have one? Like, is it going to happen? I don't know that we will. I don't know. All right, bold prediction time. Do you want to go first so that way I don't take yours?
No, I don't think you're going to have mine, so we're good.
All right. So here's what I think. I think the Phillies are going to have 2 starters in the top 5 of Cy Young voting. And I think Trey Turner will finish in the top 3 of MVP voting. Those are my 2. I don't know which 2 starters because I truly believe it could be any of the 5.
Yeah.
I truly believe that they could have any 2 of those 5 could finish in the top 5 of Cy Young voting.
So my big one is the Phillies will play for a pennant. They will be in the
NLCS.
They will be in the NLCS.
Ooh, okay now.
That's my bold prediction.
I will tell you that if my prediction comes true, your prediction comes true.
Yes.
And I think if my prediction comes true, they're playing in the Fall Classic. They're not just playing for a pennant, but I like it. That was fun. That's a fun little exercise there too. All right. We're going to jump to the Birds because they are actually playing in the play.
Yes.
Let's quickly just do recap of our of my bold prediction and of our couple of games where we landed, okay? My bold predictions. They have not announced all pro, but Jalen Carter is a Pro Bowler. I still think he might end up an all pro, but we'll see. Can we give me the Tanner McKee as the backup at this point? My God, that kid is good.
Yeah, why not? Sure, absolutely.
I'm giving it to myself. Get out of here. That dude is so good. I'm giving it to myself.
Here's somebody. I think somebody left a comment on the PHLY post game show, and it said was, "All I want is tall quarterbacks." The difference in how that dude just stands there.
He's 6'6".
But that's what I mean. He just stands there and can see everything. And you're just like, God, can Jalen just be like 6'4"? Jalen might be the best quarterback in football if he was 6'4".
Yeah.
And didn't feel like he had to bail out of pockets because I don't think he can see.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Like Tanner McKee just stands in there like, I don't care who's around me. I see everything going on.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. The Jahan Dotson over 650 yards receiving. He ended up with 220, 95 of which came today. So, I do a little mea culpa because he looked fantastic today when he actually got the ball. Saquon Barkley 1,500 yards total.
Check that box.
2,283.
Yeah.
Regz, you know he's like in striking distance. If they get to the Super Bowl, in striking distance of like regular season, postseason total rushing yards.
Like the combined number?
Yeah, it's like 2,400 something. So he's like, if they play through February, like he's got a legit chance to get to that. Something to just keep an eye on. I had Josh Sweat and Bryce Huff over 19.5 sacks.
Yeah, one guy ruined that for you.
Yeah, I think they had 10 total.
And 9 of them were Sweat.
Yeah, 8.5, I think, were Sweaty. Sweat had 8. And where you at,
Did
guy?
Huff get to 2?
He had 2.5, so he did
God.
10.5. So I didn't quite hit, but it was actually
what an
thought.
investment that was.
Yeah, how about it? He'll be going next year. Quinion and Coop over 5.5 picks did not happen. They had 0.
Listen, playing great, just not pulling in the football. That's all right.
They are. Linebackers are the best since Edwards.
Yep.
Yeah,
check that box.
Sure. Yeah. 5-1 against the division. Really feel like I should give myself that considering Jalen Hurts didn't play, but whatever. Didn't start 10-1, the injury. Brown and Devontae go over 2,300. I don't think they did that.
AJ got 1,000, right?
AJ
but just
did.
barely. It wasn't.
Oh my God, this is so close. I got to do the math real quickly, but this is so close. Yeah, not as close as I thought. 19-12.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and they both missed. Like Devontae missed 3 games, right? AJ missed 3 games. So they missed 6 combined games, and then both missed today. So they missed 8 combined games when you look at it that way. If they play all 8 of those games, they easily.
Oh yeah.
Is what is crazy what AJ Brown did in the amount of games he played. Hurts over 800 rushing yards. He was at 630. So my bold predictions, not like completely
not that far off.
No,
not any crazy ones.
No, and I still got the Super Bowl left. So we'll see. We'll see how
there you go.
See how that goes. So that's where that landed. We'll have to take a look then at some of our other stuff maybe later in the week, but I do want to get to where initial reaction here. So we didn't record after last week, after the Cowboys win that clinched them the 2 seed. And there was debate all week, like, should they play Saquon? Should they not play Saquon? I agree with the decision that was made.
I do as well.
I think we saw what happened to Zay Flowers last night. I don't know what the injury is.
The Green Bay the Packers.
With Christian Watson. Although the Packers were still playing for something.
True. That's true.
The Ravens were playing for a division, but
yeah.
I mean, they could have won that game without starting certain guys. Especially, and they were still playing dudes late in the game when the game was over.
Yeah.
But the point being, and your point remains, whether you're playing for something or not, the injury can still happen. And we would all feel very differently today if Saquon wasn't playing because he was out there trying to break the record.
But not just Saquon. Like, what if Lane Johnson gets hurt?
That's the conversation, because if Saquon plays, everybody,
playing. AJ, Devontae, everybody.
They're all on the field.
Yes.
Like, they're all on the field.
That's the problem. It's not just a Saquon injury. It's to any of those guys. Yeah.
And hindsight being 2020, he probably breaks the record in the first quarter watching today.
Yeah, again, I think the Giants play it a little bit differently if he's out there. I'm not saying it doesn't happen
I don't
still.
know. I think they love him. I think
they're still terrible. But there's probably some guys who are out there like, this dude's not getting this on me. Or we're making this as hard as possible, which means maybe it's a slightly late hit. or maybe they're going more low than usual to try and take him down. Like, just all the worst possible things. You know what I mean? That could happen. Yeah. I'm completely with you. I like, again, we know what history means and what those records mean. Like, Nick Sirianni made the best decision for his team.
Oh, for sure.
And I don't think you can. I don't think you could like debate that.
No, I believe the team saw that, and I think Lane Johnson talked about it, and my temperature check is Lane Johnson. He is my temperature check for that roster. I think Jordan Mailata is a great one too, but I think Jordan Mailata would go out there,
Oh yeah, he was ready. He was ready.
Yeah, like because it means something to those. But for Lane Johnson, who at this point in his career, what does Lane want? He wants another ring. And his words were, I think, very powerful. We did this last year, and AJ got hurt and missed the playoff game, and we suffered because of it. So the decision was the right one.
Yes,
we get on Nick for a lot, but this was the right decision.
Yes, it was.
And I don't want the hecklers if they lose in the first round, the second round, the NFC. No. Well, we should have played. No. We should have played. No. The decision was right.
Yeah, you're wrong. Yeah.
It was the right decision.
Yes.
I'm 2,000 yards is a freaking, like, it's amazing. It's amazing.
It is.
And it doesn't. And here's the thing, Regz, he might do it next year.
Yeah. What do they say? There's only been like 7 guys who have done that before.
He could come back next year and rush for 2,100 yards.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to bring back basically that same offensive line, maybe without Becton. So he could do it again next year.
Yeah.
Who knows? So they made the right decision. They took a bye week this week. Literally no one. The only guy who took big snaps today was Jordan Davis. That was it. Guy was on the field a lot today.
Yeah.
Like, the only guy that you'd anticipate. They had a full different offensive line today.
Right.
Like, full 5.
Yeah.
Full 5 different. The corners were different. The safeties were different. The linebackers were different. Milton Williams played a little bit today too. Yeah. I shouldn't say it was just Jordan Davis, but Milton Williams played some snaps today too. Bryce Huff, he did. Ojoma played, but for the most part, your guys got days off. They only dressed like 30. They only dressed like 35 guys.
Yeah,
today.
Yeah.
It's like the least amount they've ever dressed in the history of the franchise, or something like that. I saw, or since a weird date.
Mm-hmm.
But they truly went into this game like, we'll see.
Yep.
So initial reaction. They're the 2 seed. They're hosting Green Bay. Not necessarily the 2 seed matchup that I would be hoping for when you consider some of the previous 7 seeds in the NFL, especially in the NFC. Just 2 years ago when we played in a Super Bowl, the 7 seed was an 8-8 Giants team.
Yeah. Or
8-9 Giants team that the Eagles didn't even play their starters from like the 8-minute point in the third quarter until the end of the game. Gardner Minshew was playing in that game. So facing an 11-5 Green Bay team, or 10-6 Green Bay team, I should say, isn't necessarily what I was hoping for. But
yeah, my initial reaction is, I'm not afraid of Green Bay.
Yeah.
I think I have completely flipped. I think Washington would have been harder.
Okay.
I think Jalen Daniels is that good. And like, we just saw Green Bay lose playing their starters. And again, I know Jordan Love went out at some point.
Yeah.
But they were losing when he went out.
Yeah, he was not playing well, and Josh Jacobs didn't play a whole lot either.
Right. That makes a difference. He's been very good. Yeah. Let's not take it away from him. He's been very good.
Yeah.
I think without Jair Alexander, Green Bay is worse.
As long as it's not a weather game, then that's a huge advantage.
I'm with you.
Eagles.
But I just think, even if they have to like muck out a game like that, who do you have more confidence in? This O-line and Saquon Barkley? Like, or Green? I know Jacobs has been playing well, but I think we have a lot of confidence in this run defense.
Yeah, I think we do too. I believe in that.
And
I believe that they've been
I
playing.
think Jalen Daniels is like this team's weird Achilles heel. Like it's just one of those weird. I get it. I don't think they're like overall Washington is very good. I don't think they're very good.
I have a hard time calling him. I have a hard time calling him our Achilles heel. Like, I mean, they were set up to lose that game.
I just think it's something weird.
Yeah,
with that guy.
I get it.
And it would be a weird game where we're up 6 and that MFer is coming down the field. And it's just one of those things. I get it.
I'll be honest with you. I think if they played each other next week, I think the Eagles would win by 2 or 3 touchdowns. I'm
not over. I don't think Green Bay is some like juggernaut.
No, and so we're clearly going to dig into this more later in the week.
But that's my take. I'm not worried about Green Bay. Not worried about them.
I think both teams are better now than they were in Brazil.
Agree.
I think we are healthier. I know we are healthier going into this game.
And I think we are better.
Missing Jair Alexander is just like enormous.
It's huge.
Enormous.
That guy's so good.
I think if they're missing Christian Watson, they still have a ton of speed. They still have receivers who can make plays. But Christian Watson is always that guy who you worry about stretching the field, that deep threat. He's a big body in the red zone for them too. Couple of things that I think are important to note from that Brazil game that have changed from the Eagles' perspective. The first being that was probably their worst offensive performance. I mean, it was so bad to start the game that it makes the rest of their season look good in the first couple possessions. Remember, Jalen threw the interception and then he fumbled the snap. And somehow the defense held to 6.
That's right. Yeah.
And he also threw that horrific interception in the end zone late in the game after a huge turnover. So he's gotten much better at protecting the football as the season's gone on. So the Packers scored about 13 points off of Jalen Hurts turnovers in that first game. Here's the other big piece that I don't think has been talked about, or it's not fair to say it hasn't been talked about enough because we're 6 hours into this matchup now. But a piece that I think will get minimal attention that deserves a lot from an outside of Philadelphia landscape. Cooper DeJean did not play in that game.
Nope.
Avonte Maddox did.
Yep.
The difference Cooper DeJean makes in this offense, not just in the pass defense, but the run fit, is not even, you can't even begin to talk about it. Nolan Smith has improved. Bryce Huff isn't going to get big snaps, right? Jalen Carter has gotten better. This defense has gotten better.
The linebackers have gotten better.
Zach Bond had like 17 tackles. But the defense as a whole has gotten better. They've gotten smarter. They're more aggressive with turnovers. I agree with you that I do think the Eagles are the better team. Right now, the spread is 3.5. I think as soon as Jalen is announced that he's starting, it jumps to 6.5 immediately. And I think that that's right. Do I think the Eagles win by 6.5? I don't know. But can they? Absolutely. If they're going to play like they did against the Ravens, the Steelers, right? The Bengals. If they're going to play that type of game, yeah. I do think that they're going to be able to do that, which kind of leads me into where we're going. We're going to talk about later in the preview. We're going to do our whole like postseason preview. But I do want to talk about our confidence level and a few things here. I gave you 5 beforehand, but I wanted your real reaction to the last one. And I didn't tell you this one. I'm going to save it for the end. But 1 to 5 is our scale. 1 being, this is terrifying to me. 5 is, I feel really good about it. And I'm going to start with the impact of the bye week, this pseudo bye week. What confidence does it give you that these guys all got a week to sit down, not play, rest their legs, rest their bodies after playing 11 consecutive weeks since their last break.
Yeah. 10. If I can double the scale.
Kind of a dumb one to
Yeah.
start, but I wanted to get us into the game a little bit.
As much as possible, as much as humanly possible. I think it was enormous to be able to get.
Yeah.
I think more importantly, the defensive guys. I think we've seen those guys look a little tired.
Yeah, we
I
talked about
really
that.
do.
Yeah.
And especially for Jalen Carter and the corners and the safe and like Reed and CJ, you know, who's been a little nicked up. Reed had his injury things.
Darius,
huge. I think Quinyon looked tired in that Cowboys game.
yeah,
A little bit. I think it was enormous for this defense to get some time off their feet. Enormous. I think it's just as important for the offensive line.
yeah.
And the receivers and Saquon. I just like as many points as I can give it is how good I feel about them being able to take this week off.
Yeah, I think the Jalen Carter one is.
I think it's huge.
I mean, I don't know that it gets bigger than that because of how many snaps he's played. He's clearly in much better shape than he was last year.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with the nicks and bruises that, you know, Darius at 32 has, and CJ, you know, with the ankle last week. Zach Bond's played, I think, a career high in snaps this year. So just these dudes being able to be on the sideline this week and chill and not have to worry. I mean, Saquon's literally on the sideline drinking like a Dunkin' coffee during the game.
Yeah.
They just kept showing him drinking his Dunkin' coffee. But like for a guy who has 340 carries or whatever, touches, huge for him.
Mm-hmm.
AJ, huge for him. You know, these guys are nicked up and they just need a chance to rest. And I just huge that they could win last week and not have to worry coming out and having to win this week. So I agree. I put it at a 5, sort of a layup. Let me go to this one. Your confidence in Jalen Hurts playing after a month of sitting. Now I compare this to him coming out of training camp, which he has not always been great at. We just talked about his week 1 effort.
Yeah.
Your confidence in Jalen coming off of a concussion, not playing since the beginning of December, essentially.
Yeah, it's like a 3. I think there's some level of concern. I think Jalen is at his best when he is in rhythm and like feels like everything is clicking. I hope that they lean into Saquon, you know, and they set up the game plan to get Jalen easy throws. I think once he if they give him chances to just get into it, I think he'll like snap right back into playing the way he's been playing. I think, but there is a good chance that if like Green Bay comes out and plays really well on the defensive side, that like Jalen, you know, could get stuck a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's insignificant that he's going into this having not played, you know, for 3.5 weeks almost.
Yeah, I'm at like a 2. I don't love Jalen not playing for almost a month. When he takes the field, it'll be a month.
Yeah.
And I'm not confident.
Yeah.
In that.
Yep.
I hope I texted you this today. I texted you Tanner McKee, just simply Tanner McKee. And then I said, I wish they would do this with Jalen. Move the pocket, play action rollouts, easy throws. Like if they want him in a rhythm, if they want to settle him back into a big game, let him set up plays where he can move a little.
Yeah.
Get on the run. Easy throws to Goddard. Easy throws to AJ and Devontae, Calcaterra. Like, just let him settle in a little bit, find his rhythm, because I don't feel good about him. Now, playoff Jalen's always a little bit different. It's the Bucks last year. I don't count the Brady year. That was ridiculous. They were outmatched. They weren't a good team then. This is a much better Eagles team.
Yeah.
and playoff Jalen is a different animal. I need to see him come out and not be the version of him we saw back in September when he took the field for the first time after training camp. Do I believe he can do it? 100%. Am I ready to put him at a 4?
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's jump to this guy. Came back today, got his feet wet a little bit. How confident, 1 to 5, are you that Dallas Goedert's presence in the offense, his return and presence, takes them to the next level than what they've been? Because we did see some struggles when Goddard went out. Calcaterra was perfectly fine, but we always see the offense fall back when Dallas Goedert goes.
Yeah.
Now, he had to get his feet wet today. He did not get his feet wet with Jalen. So what is your confidence level that the offense will take an immediate step forward with Dallas Goedert?
I think it's tough because of the Jalen situation. I think if Jalen was coming off playing, maybe not this week, but at least the week before, I'd probably be at a 4. I think I'd put it at like a 3, just because I think the Jalen thing matters more than Dallas does. I think Dallas is ready to go. And I was happy with his reps today, looked fine, catching the ball well, all that stuff. And I think he does play a big part in adding an extra weapon to this team. I think it really makes a big deal. Yeah. And he will be open at some points. It will make a difference.
Yeah.
I think it's the Jalen part. I think when Jalen doesn't feel confident, his eyes are fixed on 11 and 6. That's just how it is. He just hyper focuses, and that makes it tough for a guy like Dallas Goedert. So that's where more of the confidence goes away than if Jalen is coming off playing the past few weeks.
That is sort of where I take away the points I'm taking away is their ability to exist together. And the only what I'm taking away is a 0.5 point. I actually put it at a 4.5. My confidence in the offense taking the next step is a 4.5 with Dallas, and here's why. His ability to block in the run game is so sorely missed when he's gone.
That's a great point.
Grant Calcaterra is not a run blocker. He works his ass off and he grinds it out. But Dallas Goedert's ability to block in the run game, it's an extra offensive lineman.
Oh yeah.
You have to worry about him as a pass catcher.
Yeah.
So you can't treat him as you know what I mean?
It's a really good it's a really good point. It's a really good point.
And I think some of the reason that they struggled against teams like the Steelers in this stretch and teams like the Commanders was the absence of Dallas Goedert in the run game. He just makes such a difference on the outside, and his ability to block. Sometimes they'll pull him in as a fullback now too, because they were doing that with Calcaterra. So I have him as a 4.5. I think he makes a huge difference. And Jalen, when I think about the postseason, Jalen has loved Dallas Goedert. Think about the Super Bowl. He was obsessed with Dallas Goedert in the Super Bowl. And it will be interesting to see how he's used this time around. But I got it as a 4.5. Let's go to. I'm going to save that one. I'm going to jump to this one. You mentioned this a little bit earlier when we talked about the bye week, but I want to know your confidence levels in the rookie defensive backs going into the postseason. So specifically Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. And the reason why I'm asking this, they did look a little bit worse for wear as the season stretched on when they faced certain teams.
Mm-hmm.
They got attacked a little bit more. And here's why I'm asking this question. I wonder, and I heard this on a few shows, a couple of different people, if the league was worried about throwing at them and now they see they can, and if they will.
Yeah.
Now he settled in in that Dallas after the first couple of possessions. He did settle in, but he got beat pretty good in the McLaurin touchdown against the Commanders.
Yeah.
And Cooper looked not great in that Panthers game. He looked susceptible
Yep.
in that Panthers game. So, this could be reactionary. It could be recency. But just your confidence level in the two of them as we head into the postseason.
I'm still at a 4. I think that McLaurin touchdown, I think, is the clear thing with Quinyon. Like, he was out of position. Like, that one against Dallas, like, he's in that dude's grill. Like, he's not a foot off. He's in that dude's chest. You know what I mean? We saw that even today with Deron Bland and McLaurin. Like, McLaurin just went up and made a great catch in that Washington game today. Bland is, like, in his pocket. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you just got to tip your hat. It was a good throw. It was a good catch. Maybe he didn't get his head around to, like, really find the ball. But on plays like that, you just have enough time to maybe, like, you tried to get your hands up in their hands and make a difference. From by all accounts and from the things I've read or listened to, he wasn't out of position really outside of that McLaurin one.
Mm.
So I think there's still confidence in his ability to cover. I think Cooper in coverage is a little more susceptible. I don't think he's as skilled in coverage as Quinyon is. And I think that, look, I think Thielen was a real, like, Cooper beater. You know what I mean? Just like this crafty guy who knew how to take advantage of his leverage, and a kid who just like, Thielen's probably smiling, being like, kid, you got no idea what I'm about to do to you.
Yeah.
I don't think Green Bay has that kind of wily veteran guy. Like, their guys are more
young.
based on young and athleticism and speed. And I think in that case, Vic is going to come up with ways to, like, not put Cooper in a bunch of one-on-ones. In that game in particular in Carolina, he was in a lot of, like, and again, I think Carolina did a good job of scheming Thielen to him.
Yeah.
So look, are they going to try? I'm sure. I still have confidence in both of them to play well.
This is more of a zone game with their speed. This is going to be more of a zone game. And I when you think about that game against them in Brazil, they had like 2 or 3 explosive touchdowns. One a result of broken coverage and the other result of poor tackling. Neither of which happens to this team much anymore. It all seemed to happen that first week, his first 4. But since then, it's few and far between where they have broken zones, missed tackles. They rally to the ball well. And I don't anticipate that being an issue. I'm with you. I'm at like a 4 or 5 here. I'm not very concerned about either of them. But it's been a point of conversation. All right, 2 more. And I don't think I have to say much more than this. Your confidence in Nick Sirianni to not screw up these next 4 games if they continue to advance.
3, I guess. I don't know.
I'm not there yet.
You heard it in my voice. It's an iffy 3. Yeah, maybe I'm right in the middle at like a 2.5.
I just don't know if he's gonna be able to help himself.
I'm just that. I mean, that's all we're hoping for, is that he can just somehow understand that he's at his best when he stays out of the way.
Here's what I want. I want him to pick a lane, and I want him to stay in that. And I know there are going to be certain situations that call for certain things, right? But if you're going to be the aggressive head coach, be the aggressive head coach. Like, I don't want you maneuvering back and forth. And I don't know how many people that listen to us watch college football and have followed the playoff. But I'm going to use my other favorite team's head coach as an example. Marcus Freeman has chosen that he's going to be the aggressive head coach. That's what he's chosen to be. And he's been that. And that's been his identity. It's been their team's identity. And it hasn't failed them. They're heading to the semifinal this week because of his aggressive choices. Like the punt, fake punt, fake run out 11, pull off 11, put on another 11. Like, I know he was going to call a timeout, but that aggressive thought process is what makes your team confident, because you're confident. So if you're going to be that, be that. I don't want the guy who punts on 4th and 3 from his own 40.
I think he is that with Jalen as his quarterback.
He better be, because there were times this year he wasn't.
I'm with you. look, I get it. He could revert. I think that was more of a Kenny Pickett thing.
Well, no, I mean, I'm specifically talking about the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
No, sure.
4th and 3 from your own 40, and you're gonna hand Mahomes.
Yeah.
Go for it and keep the ball out of his hands.
Yeah.
Like that's and if you don't get it, whatever, Mahomes gets the 40 and he'll score fast and you get the ball back anyway. Like, I don't want. The reason we won the Super Bowl in 2017 is because Doug Peterson had zero fear. And this game and any game after this, like there's not going to be any walks in the NFC.
Yeah.
Like they're going to go from Green Bay to potentially Tampa Bay, who is their true Achilles heel. Like that's their true kryptonite, to probably either the Vikings or the Lions. And you're not beating those teams by pissing down your leg.
Right.
Like you have to be aggressive. You don't think Dan Campbell's going to be aggressive?
Yeah, he will be.
You have to be aggressive. You just have to be. So I'm not confident because he hasn't shown me the consistency of being that guy and getting out of his own way. And I just want him to make that decision before I don't want him to do anything stupid.
Yeah.
Like early in games and in 3-point games and tie games, like in the first quarter, you don't need to. But late in games, you need to be that guy.
Yeah.
All right, last one. I didn't tell you about this one pre-show. Eagles down by 1. They're moving down the field. They got one timeout left. Jalen throws an absolute strike to A.J. Brown at the 30. Okay? They call their last timeout with 5 seconds left. And Jake Elliott trots onto the field. A 47-yard field goal.
Okay.
To win the ball game. Or go home.
Yeah.
What's your confidence level in Jake Elliott?
I'm including some karma points because I believe in good juju. So I'm going to say 3. I think if I wasn't including the juju, it's like 2 or 2.5.
I am a full-on 5. That dude has balls of steel, and he's not missing that
I love
kick.
it. I love it.
He's not, because somewhere in his ear, you know what's happening this week? Jason Peters is tracking him down and telling him not to miss another kick again.
Yeah.
That's what's happening this week.
Listen, I love Jake. I believe he's great. We need him to be great. We do.
Yeah.
And I still think he can be.
Yeah.
Like, kickers are so weird, man. They're so weird.
And what's funny is he has not been weird.
Right.
He has been the opposite of weird, and this year he has been.
Mm-hmm.
But he has been the most consistent kicker we have had in a really long time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And all of a sudden this year, it's just been a nightmare. But here's the good news. He saw his last 2. And I think, Sirianni probably goes for it if this were a playoff game in that situation to try and ice the game out.
Yeah.
Because they had no more timeouts left, and if they didn't get it, they had to go 90 yards to score a touchdown with no timeouts. So he's probably going for it there. But in this case, it was like, man, whatever. I didn't love it because I was like, man, if they go to overtime and someone gets hurt, I'm going to kill you. But I think if they would have scored, they would have gone for 2.
Yeah.
I don't think they really wanted to go to overtime anymore than he did. But I think he wanted Jake to see another one go through, and I don't blame him for that. I think as many chances as you could give Jake to strike another one through the uprights, you give him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm putting it at a full 5, and maybe some of that is the good juju, the good karma, and maybe I'm more at a 4. But for some reason, I really Jake Elliott come playoffs to be Jake Elliott.
Yeah.
I really do. So
I love it.
We will see. But that was also a very fun exercise. So, anything else for the good of the cause, buddy?
No, that was great.
Well, I don't have much else. I don't really even have a fixated other than I do want to say this. We need to really thank our lucky stars and be grateful for Eagles football. And I mean that from a lot of different lenses. Like they've won double-digit football games the last 3 years. I know last year was a nightmare.
Yeah.
But look at what happened to the Niners this year.
Yeah.
Like
it's a real thing.
They're not even going back to the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Eagles got back last year. I know it wasn't good. I know the way the season get old, but like at least we got a taste of postseason football last year. Like we weren't eliminated before December.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they were 10-1 at one point last year.
Mm-hmm.
So we're very fortunate. And I think in a more specific regard, we lost Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelce at the end of last year. And we were immediately on the show and we were like, we don't know how to replace them. And both guys are Pro Bowlers.
Yeah.
And probably both going to be all pros. Well, Cam might not be. Cam might make like second team all pro.
He's been very good.
He's been very good. And so is Jalen Carter. I mean it when I say it. Like we are super fortunate. There are a lot of franchises that have been down and out for a long time and some that are going to be down and out.
Mm-hmm.
And we are not. We're not. So be very grateful. I might have a very different tune next week. We will see. But I do have a question for us next week that I'm gonna have you remind me about. And it is about something we just talked about. So remind me to tell you when we get off the air here. We'll talk about when we're recording. Thursday night is the Notre Dame Penn State game. I don't see myself wanting to record on Thursday night. Specifically during it.
That's a fair point.
We could probably touch base and see where we're at afterward.
Yeah.
But Friday night might be the more attuned recording. So we'll be back at some point before Eagles and Packers on Sunday afternoon. Until then, smash that follow button. If you are listening to us, then hit the follow button. What the heck you doing? If you're watching, do it. Subscribe. Head over to where you get your podcast. Click like, subscribe, rate us. I noticed we gained like 2 more rates on Spotify, which is awesome.
Love it.
Both 5 stars, still sitting at 5 stars.
Appreciate all of you.
Appreciate that very much. And then head over to our social media account, which my New Year's resolution is to get back on those. I have really struggled staying on top of it. But that is my New Year's resolution. I've started a list of different videos I can do that just can go out daily that won't take long to record. Literally can do them as I'm walking. So look out for those on social media at the Phixated fan page on Facebook, at the Mic Drop 5, at the Phixated Pod on Twitter, at Big Regz with a Z on Twitter, and then head over to TikTok at the Phixated Pod. Merchandise links in the show description. We look forward to coming back next week. Until then, thank you, birds. Go Birds, and go Irish.
That's right. Go Irish, baby.
Oh, my God. Deep to right field. Way up there and way out of here.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.